Sue Storm will be joining her husband Reed as the first half of the Fantastic Four, dropping in Season 1, Part 1, and the Invisible Woman is a hell of a lot of fun to play. She can be offensive, she can be defensive, she masters shields. Yes, she can be invisible, because how could the Invisible Woman not be invisible? Not only that, she can make her entire team invisible. And I will say she's definitely one of those characters that I'm kind of, at this point, torn between high A and low S tier. She is definitely not as good as Mantis and Luna Snow, but she's definitely as good, at least as Cloak and Dagger, and definitely has high potential to be main healer on a team. And I think her team up with Reed will be very common, definitely in the first part of Season 1. So let's take a look at Susan Storm's abilities. Let's start with her left click, which is Orb Projection. Launch a force field that it can pierce heroes flying to maximum distance before returning to the Invisible Woman. Damage enemies and healing teammates. So her left click does both. If you hit, as you can see here, if you hit someone that is an enemy, it does damage. If you hit someone that is on your team, it does healing. Her Q is called Invisible Boundary. Manifest an unseen force field within the chosen area, rendering allies inside undetectable by enemies and providing healing over time. Enemies that pass through the force field are then slowed. Her left shift, which I think is arguably one of her best abilities, is called Psionic Vortex. Gather psionic energy, then cast it upon a target seen, or pressing the left shift key again, it erupts into a psionic vortex, continually drawing enemies and causing damage. She then has her ability called Force Physics. Manipulate sonic energy to push or pull enemies in front of you or away from you. Her V is called Agile Strike. It's a 3-hit combo. The third strike will launch an enemy up front. This is more of a melee attack, kind of, because she uses psionic energy to kind of punch them. Her space bar is called Veiled Step. This generates a force field at your feet. Stepping on it propels you into an invisible state. Her right click is called Guardian Shield. As you're linked up on someone, you can then literally put a shield in front of them. It works amazing with Punisher when he's in turret. Generate a force shield in front of a selected ally. This shield can block damage and provide healing over time to nearby allies. Enemies that pass through the shield are then slowed. Her passive is called Covert Advance. Enter invisible state sometime after disengaging from combat and grant yourself healing over time. Now, you can automatically start this if you do Veiled Step. The moment you go invis, you start healing. And her team ability is called Fantastiforce. And that's her and Reed. The Invisible Woman taps into her powers, channeling psionic might to fortify the entire Fantastic Four team. The Formidable Force bolsters Mr. Fantastic, granting damage resistance. Once activated, they continually generate bonus health, making up for lost health with each passing moment. Now let me show you what it looks like playing Sue inside of the shooting gallery.
Even when the multiverse is in danger, family still comes first.
Now, as you can see, when you spawn in, you are invised.
Now I see them.
All right, we're going to start out with her left click. Pretty straightforward. You have 10 blasts. Pretty easy. If you want to get environmentals, you can get it with her V. 1, 2, and the third one will drop her off. Then left shift is going to be her vortex field, which you can see would draw her in, and also would cause damage over time. Now the E button is your psionic. If you want to pull forward, you're gonna left click, and then if you want to push, that would be your right click. And finally, if someone's being attacked, you can shield them. As you can see, the shield will protect them. If anyone would come through, they're slowed. Double jump, which also will activate her invis passive. And then finally, you're going to see her ultimate. I'll wait till these guys are back up so you can see them all go invis. Disappear! Now they will also, even if they're taking damage, as you can see, the healing goes on as well. And then if she had Reed, she would have the ability where Reed can pop the shields as well. And that's kind of how her kit works. And we're going to talk about how you play her next.
3, 2.
Now let's break down Sue Storm, the Invisible Woman, who is probably going to become one of the most popular strategists to choose from due to her pure flexibility. The thing about her is she can be a main healer, she can be an off healer, she can do good damage, she can do great healing. So it makes her a character where you can kind of get the best of both worlds. Like I said earlier, she won't top Luna or Mantis as the top strategist, but she is so important to have another solid strategist in this class, which is a class that is unfortunately way underrepresented in Marvel Rivals. Now, my favorite thing about Sue Storm is the fact that, yes, she can be invisible, but the main thing is the fact that she can pair up very well with a lot of the duelists to make them better, which is one of her most intriguing abilities. Not her healing, not her damage, her shields, and her psionics. So by combining Psionic Vortex and Shield, she can be a very lethal strategist. Now, the thing about Psionic Vortex that makes it so good is when you throw it in, it's going to do damage over time, but it also has that vortex pool like you have with an Ankh, where it drags them all into a central location. Then, what you do is you shield up a duelist that's coming after all those people grouped up and just let them go to town. She is absolutely devastating on groups. She's going to crush squishies that way. And even on Vanguards, I've been doing very solid damage with her. Now, she does have that melee ability I showed you, her V, which will allow you to like get some combat and kind of have that ability to knock someone off if you want to try to get an environmental kill with her, but I don't think it's going to be your main go-to. It is slow, the fact that it needs that third hit to actually get the psionic push. You can do it much easier with an E. With E, you can push them or pull them, and you're going to much easier to get those kind of pushbacks with actual real distance and very little commitment. You just hit E, and then you right or left click. It's the much easier choice, even though you do have the V melee strike in your back pocket. Now, I will say I did enjoy playing her, and she feels very easy to play, even though she is higher starred, and she does feel very natural. Now, I felt like I took a lot longer time with Reed to get the real rhythm with his kit, but maybe that's just because I'm a strategist main. As a strategist main, I felt like I kind of understood the scenario when you have a positive and negative main attack. So in that case, you heal and DPS with their main ability. You just left click, and then you can kind of hit either or, and you're going to do damage, you're going to do healing. It's very straightforward. It's a lot like Dagger's Dagger, and you just do what you need to do. She doesn't really have any heals over time except her shields, so you're going to have those when you pop the shield up for someone, they will get the hot, or you will get the actual heal over time yourself if Reed activates the shield combo passive. So that team up ability allows him to put a shield, you both get health over time. It works out pretty well. I think the best thing about her is that she has great mobility, which is something that sometimes you don't necessarily get with strategists. Like, I feel like Cloak and Dagger are running in mud. You do have it, obviously, with Luna Snow and Mantis, and she's, once again, just ahead of Cloak, behind them, and that's where I kind of just find her slotting in. Her spacebar double jump will automatically kick in Invis as well, so you get the travel distance, you get the Invis, and that will kick in healing over time, which definitely comes in handy if you're nowhere near a health pack, and you need to make sure you give yourself a little bit of a time to heal up to get back into action, whether that is doing damage or healing. Now, I feel like her healing could use a little bit of a buff on her main attack. She still does pretty decent healing. I was averaging about 15 to 20k every match, and I wasn't really pushing it that hard as we were doing footage for this video. So I feel like you can probably push her to maybe a good average of 23k, which I think a lot of people would be pretty happy with. Once again, it's going to slot her in right between those S tier and the high A tiers, so it's going to be a nice addition. I feel she is definitely not nearly as DPS-centric as, say, Loki would be, or Adam, but she's not as heal-heavy as, say, Luna or Mantis can be. She's just kind of this jack-of-all-trades type of strategist, which you need those types of characters brought into the game. And especially on a class that is definitely not seeing enough characters in the launch time, where they're, you know, tripled by duelists. She definitely is a character that is going to help out a lot. Now, obviously, Malice is going to be a very popular skin, but I think regardless of that, she is a natural pick just if you're looking for a good strategist to play. I find her to have really good abilities to match with a lot of duelists as well. So it's not just the healing and damage herself, but her supporting abilities are very, very good. And her shield The cooldown is a little bit long. I feel like they could shave a second or two off of that and it'd be fine, but it will come in handy for a lot of tanks or duelists that are trying to do damage and low on health or just taking a little bit of a beating. And her ultimate is sneaky good. I'm not sure it's the best ultimate. There's definitely better ones. Luna's is better, Mantis is better, Loki's is better among strategists, but it is really good for getting you guys out of trouble. The healing on it is solid. And the invisibility that you can't see where you're placing can set up for a lot of cool combos and counter attacks. She comes off as a character that, for me, I feel like is going to be very easy to learn, but a little harder to master. She's all about positioning, which you're going to see with a lot of strategist characters, and you want to make sure that you're using the walls and invis to your advantage to get away when you need to heal up, or to move forward with shields and psionic blasts when you need to really push in with the rest of your team. I think she is going to be probably the third highest pick of all strategists and will allow you to really climb pretty easily. I think my main goal when going into season 1 will be to climb rank as a Sue one trick. I'm gonna try to push from my fallback to bronze 3, I think, all the way back up to gold. The reward for comp this season is a new Sue skin. So if you got up to gold for the golden moonlight skin, now you can go up to gold for the blood sphere Susan Storm skin, who will be the focus of season 1's comps rewards. I like where they're doing with it. I think the Fantastic Four coming in halves does make sense. It does suck for the Vanguard players, though, that you were getting a duelist and a strategist in the first half, and we'll have to wait for the thing to come later this season. But all in all, I think the Fantastic Four really rounds out the roster very well in season 1, and I'm having a blast playing both her and Reed in Eternal Night Falls early access. Let me know what you think in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and later, mates.